Breaking news: Putin takes a hit as Kyiv successfully fends off an attack on the strategic village of Avdiivka. In a blow to Vladimir Putin's forces, Ukrainian soldiers on the front line at Avdiivka reportedly repulsed Russian attacks on Tuesday. In addition, I can add that our defenders on the Avdiivka front repelled all the attacks of the enemy. No losses of lines and positions were sustained, Colonel Alexander Stupin, Kyiv spokesperson of the Joint Press Center of the Defense Forces, said. He confirmed that Russian military offensive operations had been ramped up on the same front. According to him, Ukrainian troops were successful in fending off assaults in the Donetsk Oblast settlements of Kiremenka, Okeretine, Berdychiv, Stepov, Lastikine, Tonenk, Avdiivka, and Pervomaisk. The Presidential Office of Kyrgyzstan in Central Asia confirmed on Wednesday that Russian President Vladimir Putin would be visiting their country on Thursday, marking his first known trip abroad since an arrest warrant was issued for him by the International Criminal Court. Meanwhile, Moscow's continued international isolation was signaled on Tuesday when Russia was rejected for readmission to the United Nations top human rights body. Putin's first international trip since the ICC arrest warrant. After a vote, Russia was rejected for readmission to the UN human rights body. In its most recent air attack, Russia has dispatched dozens of drones into Ukraine. Advances by Ukraine near Bakhmut. Members of the United Nations have spoken out against the bombing of a village wake. This upcoming winter is predicted to see a record number of Russian drone attacks. Putin's first international trip since the ICC arrest warrant. The Russian president is expected to make his first known international trip since an arrest warrant was issued for him by the International Criminal Court, ICC, on Thursday, when he is scheduled to visit Kyrgyzstan, according to the country's presidential office. Since the beginning of Moscow's invasion of Ukraine in early 2022, Putin has rarely traveled outside of Russia. Since the International Criminal Court issued an arrest warrant for him in March on suspicion of illegally deporting hundreds of children from Ukraine, Putin is unlikely to have left Russia. The Kremlin strongly refutes these claims. The Kyrgyz presidential administration announced on its website that on October 12 of this year, Russian President Vladimir Putin will pay an official visit to the country at the invitation of Kyrgyz President Sadyr Japarov. There has been no official confirmation from the Kremlin that Putin will travel to Kyrgyzstan on Thursday, despite his agreement to do so during talks with Japarov back in May. The Russian leader will also be attending the Belt and Road Forum in Beijing next week. Kyrgyzstan and China are both non-members of the International Criminal Court, ICC, which was set up to try people for war crimes. Moscow rejects the ICC's allegations and has opened a criminal case against the ICC prosecutor and the judges who issued the warrant, claiming that they are evidence of Western hostility toward Russia. Defense Minister Troels Lund Poulsen was quoted on Wednesday by national broadcaster TV2 as saying that Denmark plans to send its first shipment of F-16 fighter jets to Ukraine in March or April of next year, near the front line in Avdiivka. Geolocated footage shows Ukrainian forces destroying a Russian BMP-1 infantry fighting vehicle. Ukraine had been repelling Russian attacks since Russia had gone on the offensive there. In addition, I can add that our defenders on the Avdiivka front repelled all the attacks of the enemy. No losses of lines and positions were sustained, Colonel Alexander Stupin, Kyiv spokesperson of the Joint Press Center of the Defense Forces, said.